Hello friends, welcome to today's video where we'll be looking at the concept shell and then its permissions. So basically, let's just get right into it. Assuming you've read the resources and have done the quiz, you've also attempted the task but are having challenges. So I hope this tutorial proves really helpful in helping you understand shell permissions and in helping you with your tasks. So for this concept, I will be using my Vagrant here machine on my computer and we'll be looking at the tasks. So for shell, let's look at task 0. The requirements for this would actually be pushing all our works to GitHub and then we would execute our file. So most of the issues many people get is they don't execute their file and they don't push to GitHub. So we'll be doing just that. So we'll not be creating a new repository for this project. Instead, we'll just be creating a new directory. So if you ls in your web terminal or on your Vagrant machine, any which you may decide to use, you should see you already have Alx System Engineering DevOps here, and that's the folder we're going to be using. So I'm going to simply cd into it, Alx System Engineering DevOps. And if you read what you expected to do for this project, you are to create another directory. Yes, the directory where we'll be putting all our files in, it's a new directory. So in your Alx system, if you list out the files there using the command lx, you should see 0x00 shell basics. But where we would be putting all our files for this project in is actually in the directory 0x01 shell permissions. So you don't have to create a new repository for this. Just come to your terminal and create the folder 0x01 shell permission. So I'm doing just that now. Permissions, and after doing that, we have to now cd into our 0x01 shell permissions. So this is the folder from which we'll be creating all our files and we'll be writing our answers to. So I clear my terminal to ensure a clean working environment. And so we'll create various files. In this tutorial, we'll be looking at all our advanced tags. We'll create various files. For the tag 0, we're asked to create a script that switches the current user to the user Betty. So the first thing that comes to my mind is actually what is the command line to switch a current user. So I can see here now that my user is Vagrant Ubuntu Focal. So the command, if I want to switch this user Vagrant now to Betty as the user, what is the command to do that? So, but before I write the answer, I would actually have to write the answer in a file called 0 I am Betty. So the first thing I would do is not to write the command. Instead, it's to actually create the file. And I'm going to use vi to create that file because in the requirements, we're asked to use Emacs or vi as our text editor. So I'm going to use vi now, and all I simply did is vi space 0 I am Betty. Press enter, it takes me to my vi environment. And so from here, I'm going to write the command. The question again is to create a script that switches the current user to Betty. And that's actually very, very easy. So to switch current user, I'm going to use su, then betty, that's Betty. So this is the command. Su simply means switch user, and betty is the user that was given to us in the task to switch to. But remember, before you do that, you have to put your bin bash in everything you're doing. So you have to do your hash, then exclamation mark, and then slash bin slash bash. So your first line of all your projects should have this. It should actually have this. So I'm just going to copy this somewhere and try to maybe paste it here so I can come back to it for all our projects. And then the second line is where you will write all your answers in. So for this answer, it's simply subtty, that is switch user. And then I would save it now by pressing my ES key, my column, and then WQ to exit and save. After doing that, I've simply answered the question for tax 0, just like that. So easy. So there are a couple of things I can do. For example, I can do ls to see if really I have a file called 0 I am Betty, and you can see it here. I have that file, which I use vi to create. So you may decide to check your code, and if you want to check your code, you are going to do git add, git commit, git push, and all of that. Also remember, in this directory shell permissions, you are to create a readme. So let's just go ahead and do all the steps so it doesn't look overwhelming. So the first thing I will do is, remember, execute my file. So I'm going to execute my file by changing the mode u x. The file I'm executing is I am Betty. So by running this command, I'll be able to execute this file. And if I enter and then I ls again, you would see the color has changed. The color here was white, but now it's an executable file that's changed to green. After that, remember they asked us to create a readme at the roots of the folder of this project, describing what each script is doing. Okay, so I'm going to create that now using the echo, and then it's not going to be an empty readme. We are going to describe what each script is doing. So for example, script 1 actually would print a program. So I'm going to write it. Create a script rather. Create a script that switches the current user to Betty. So that's one. You could go ahead to write number 2. So this README should contain what every script, all your scripts, as many as they are. The compulsory ones, I think, are about 14. So as many as they are, this script should be able to, this your README should list out what each of the 14 scripts will be doing. That is if you're only doing the mandatory tasks. So you could write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not going to write all of that because of time. So I'll create the README. So this is it. I've echoed and I've written what I want to write here. This README. I've explained what our script 1 is doing. And then readme.md. So if I press enter and then I list, you can see I have my readme file. And if I check what's in my readme file with cats, readme.md, I get to see it, that what I wrote is actually there. So the next thing I'll do, I've executed my file here. I've written the answer into the file. I've created the readme and I've described what script 1 does. So you can go ahead, write what each and every script would do here in the readme. And then after doing that, what I'll do is git add dots, then I'll git commit with the message. So you could write message, consign your commits, and for time I'll just write hello and enter. And then the next thing you want to do is git push. If I press enter now, it's going to push all my work. So my ALX system engineering DevOps is going to push everything there. So because I've done this before, that's the reason why I didn't push. But in your case, just hit git push. After hitting git push, go and check your code. Everything should work well. That is all for the task 1. Task 0 rather, which is our first task. And then in our task 1, we have the who am I. So you still maintain this directory. You maintain everything here. We are not going to leave this directory for any reason. So the next file we are creating has the title who am I. And so the question is that we should write a script that prints out the effective username of the current user. So what I would be asking myself is, if I want to, what command would show me the current user in shell? Remember, what we're actually doing is shell permissions. So everything you're doing here should be as regards shell. So what command is going to print out the username of the current user? And then we are going to write this command in the file called who am I. So I'm going to use VI to create the file again, since that's where I'll be writing my answer in. Of course, there are other ways to create the file, like using touch or using Emacs, but I prefer to use VI. If I hit enter, so my file has been created. And so it is in this environment I'll write the answer to the question. Write a script that prints the effective username of the current user. Of course, you can see your questions in the intranet. And so you could open your intranet and follow along. So what is the script that print out the username of the current user? The script is id space -u and then space -n. This is the script. So what id does, id displays the id simply means identity. This u represents username, user. This u represents user, and this n represents name. So we're asked to print the user name. So this is it. We could also decide to join them together by doing id un, but for me, I choose to do it this way. Anyways, you're correct. After that, I'm going to press the ES key on my computer and hit my column W Q. Those are the commands to save your file in VI and exit the VI command. After that, if I run ls on my terminal, I should see the file I just created. Who am I? So to save time, once you're sure of what you're doing, you're sure that you've gotten this correct, you don't have to hit add for every single project you do. You could just decide to take them in box and then add, commit, and push once. It would still work. So this is what I mean. Rather than me executing this file now and pushing to GitHub, I'll just continue with the questions. So I've answered question 1, who am I? The next file I would create actually has the name 2 groups. So I would also use VI to create that file, 2 groups, and press enter. Remember, I did not push the VI command. The first file I created, the who am I did not push it to GitHub. I'm going to create all once and then push everything once. So these 2 groups that we've just created, it asks us write a script that prints all the groups the current user is part of. So this is actually very simple. The answer is simply groups. That is the answer. The answer is groups. So if I exit this now, I would be correct. But remember, we actually did make a mistake. I did make a mistake. The last file, your first line in VI should actually contain this. So I forgot that. I'm going to copy it from here. Copy. Then I'm going to simply paste it. Copy and paste. So just like this answer would work. Let me go back to the VI one. You can see I did not write it. So I'm actually going to still write that. I pasted it here. I'm going to save and quit VI again. Let me clear. So I've created 2 files now. To see how many files you've created, simply do type ls to show you the list of what you have there. We've created 3 files so far. So let's just keep going. Remember I said we'll do everything once and push it at the same time to GitHub. The third question says, Write a script that changes the owner of the file hello to user Betty. And where we write this answer in is actually in the file 3 new owner. So I'm going to do just that. Create the file 3 new owner and then write the answer into that file. I've created the file already using VI. So always remember to first line paste your bin bash command, and then in the second line write the answer. So what is the command to change ownership? That's simply what the third question is saying. And to change ownership, you know, it's CHOWN. CHOWN simply means change ownership. change OWN ownership. And then we are changing the file. We are changing the owner of the file hello to the user Betty. So the user Betty is going to have the file called hello. So simple. So that's how to get it done. Going to exit. After saving, if I list, you can see I actually have my file. So doing this way would be quicker, save you more time and less stress of actually having to push, check code, push, check code, push, check code. So the next task is task 4. Next task is task 4, and task 4 is very simple. Write a script that creates an empty file called hello. And the name of the file we are going to write the answer to is for empty. I'm using VI once again to create it. And then always remember to copy this first and your second line, you should actually write the answer. So what's the command to create an empty file in Shell? This one is so simple. We all know the command is touch. The name of the file is hello. So this is very easy. Touch hello. We are done with this. Right, enter. So exit VI first. And if I list, I can see my new file, number 4, empty. So this is how to get it done. I can simply move on to number 5. And where I would write the answer to, the name of the file I'm going to write the answer to is 5 executes, 5-executes. So I'm going to open that file with VI once again. Even without knowing the answer, please first copy the bin bash and make sure you paste it here. Then in your second line, you can actually think of the answer. So here is simply telling us to write a script that adds executes permission to the owner of the file hello. So the command to execute a file, we already know it because we've been using it. It's actually the chmod. It's put a file in executable mode. And so what here is simply saying is that we should add the execute permission to the owner of the file hello. So we are going to do u x, then hello is the file. So we've been doing this a whole lot of times since yesterday and even today. So this is quite simple. Just like this, we are done with this question again. So I'm going to save and then quit. If I list, I can see I have my file executes. The reason why 0 I am Betty is green but the rest are white is because we've not actually executed all these files using our chmod command, which is simply means change mode. So we've not done that command yet, and the reason is because I want to finish all the project first, run the command at once, and push to GitHub at the same time. So the next task we are going to is task 6, multiple permissions, and the file we are going to create for that actually has multiple underscore permissions. So multiple permissions, and all I have to do is hit enter. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake. vi is 6 multiple permission. So that's it. Once I hit enter, so you could see when I made a mistake, the command returned an error. So all I had to do was look at the error the terminal returned and actually work on it. It's so simple. Don't panic when you get errors. Errors are normal. All you have to do is look at your error and you should be able to solve it. So I'll copy this again, paste it, press enter, and then in this task 6, I'm about to give it multiple permissions. Remember in task 5, I just gave it permission to execute the file, which is the chmod u plus x. But now I'm going to give it other permissions to also read permission for the users to actually be able to read the file. So I'm going to add that permission. So I'm still going to do the permission to execute it first. Then I'm going to add another permission. So the permission to execute it is chmod space u plus x. And then I'm going to give it the permission for the group owner. So I can simply do g plus x, g, which stands for the group, and then other users should also get the permission to read the file. So it's actually pretty much simple. O plus arrow, other users reading the file, and after that I'm going to write the name of the file. The name of the file is hello. You could see it there in your intranet. The name of the file is hello. So this is it. I'm going to change the mode to give it the permission to execute the file, for the group user to read the file, then for other users to also read the file. I'm going to save, press my ES key, WQ, enter. I've saved that. If I do ls, I can actually see my file here, part 6. In case you're wondering how to know all these commands, do well to read your resources. You could also use external sources to check out for answers to some of these questions. It is actually impossible trying to memorize all these commands because there are just too many of them. But what you want to do is that try to understand what they do so that even if you can't memorize it, at least you have the basic understanding. If you see it, you can at least understand what it does. Memorizing, you could always check sources such as Google if you are confused on the exact syntax to use. So I've done 6 tags now. We'll go to the 7th tags. The file we'll create in the 7th tags is called everybody. We hit enter, and number 7 file tells us to write a script that adds execution permission to the owner. So take that first, execution permission to the owner, and that is chmod u plus x. So we've written that first. And then the group owner and other users to the file. So we are going to write a script that adds execution permission to the owner, the group owner, and other users. And then the file is hello. So we can simply chmod execution permission to the group owner and other users, and then hello. So this is actually the syntax for doing that. And I'm going to copy this first. Copy this, and then paste it here. And I think this should work. Yes, it did work. So far I've done 7 tasks. That is 8 if we are counting from 0. So we move on to the next task 8 that has the name James Bond. I'm going to go to 8, James Bond. To avoid issues with naming, you could simply copy it from your intranet and paste it. It would definitely still work. And hit enter. So what we are supposed to do here is the owner will have no permissions at all. The group will have no permission at all. But other users, not the owner, not part of the group, will have all the permissions. If you read and understood your resources and answer the quiz correctly, then you should try to understand why we have some numerical values here, such as 007. So if you don't understand why we have the 007 here, please go back to your resource. There's a part that explains the numerical values and how they are counted and calculated. So the owner has 0, the group has 0. Then for the other users, they have all the permissions. 7. And I just saved and quit. Let me clear my working directory. Yes. So if I ls now, I can see everything I've created here, including my readme. So please don't forget to create this readme and actually write the contents inside. or else you would have problems even if you do every other step correctly. We'll go to 9 now, John Doe. So I'm going to simply do vi. Name of the file is 9 on underscore do, and in this file we'll set the mode of the file hello to this hyphen arrow wx arrow hyphen x hyphen wx. So basically there's a detailed explanation on what this represents. Your hyphen, your arrow, wx arrow command, what they represent, just right here in your intranet. The resource we were asked to read before attempting this quiz. There's a detailed explanation to what these things represent. So do well to check it out so that you're not completely lost as to what this code represents. It may take a while to assimilate though, and it's very, very normal. So, but basically for John Doe, the command will have to change mode first. And we use these numerical values, just as I explained earlier, to get a deeper understanding of why we are using numerical values here and what they actually represent. Just go to your intranet. The resource we are asked to read explains that in detail. We'll also talk about it during our peer learning section on Fridays. So I've written the answer to the John Doe file, which is phmod 753. The name of the file is hello, which I wrote. So I'm going to quit, leave the vi, and if I do ls, I can see my file John Doe here. So the next thing we want to do in the same manner is to go to the task 10, look in the mirror. So do well to read each task so you try to understand the question as much as you can. And those dummy example codes they put there actually prove to be so much of a guide to me as to what they are expecting. Also, if you have errors, do well to check the errors, check your details so that you see exactly where the error is coming from. Once again, these errors are normal and everybody at one point or the other do experience these errors. So, but try to read it to make sure so I'm creating the file, mirror permissions, and then I'm going to write the answer, write the scripts that sets the mode of the file hello as the same as OLS mode. The file hello will be in the working directory. The file ole would be in the working directory. So basically the first thing I'll do is my bin bash copy, and then change mode, set a reference, Ole and hello. So I'm going to reference Ole with hello here, and this command should basically make the script, the mode of the file hello and of Ole to be the same. This command here should basically do that. After imputing the command, I use my ES key, W, Q, save, close, ls. So I can see it here, permissions 10. So yeah, it's there. I've actually done the right thing. So that's it for 10. Task 11. Directories. So we are going to be giving directories some kind of permissions here. So I'm going to create the file for task 11. Directories permissions. Enter, created the file, insert. So first off, most times I actually forget that and I go back a lot to put it a bin bash command. And then in our second line, we have our answers dash arrow UGO egg space dot. So this should basically give the needed permissions to all the subdirectories for the current directory for the owner. So all the subdirectories should have the same permissions as the current directories running this script. So after that, I'm going to save and quit. For ls, I can see my file directories permission over here. So it works, and then yeah, more directories. So this is going to create more directories. The file I'm going to create it in, it's in directory permissions. And once again, I'll copy this, paste it here. And so the question said, create a script that creates a directory called my directory with permission 751 in the working directory. Okay, so basically I'm going to create a directory called my directory. So first, that should make me know that the command to create a directory is the mkdir arrow, and then the name of the directory is my directory. Name of the directory is my directory. I'm creating that script directory in the current working directory. So I'm going to use the command -m and then give it permission 751. And that's it. So I'm going to save my file in VI and then quit VI and come back here, list everything with C12 directory permissions. I can now click and that should work. Now I'm going to change group, which is another very simple task here. Changes the group. The next thing I'm going to be writing should be a script that changes the group owner to school for the file hello. So file 13, change group. Once again, I'm not using the touch command to create my file. I'm actually creating my files in VI. So here we go. I've actually pasted my bin bash and change group. So the command to change group is chgrp. Yes, chgrp, change group. So I'm changing the group school. What's the question? Changes the group owner to school for the file hello. So change group chgrp to school. The owner is school, but the file is hello. So the command to do that is simply this here. After that, I'm going to save and quit VI. Feel free to use any other better method you find. There are more than one ways of doing most of the things we do here. So feel free to explore, find better ways to do it, and even share it with us. We would be happy to learn from you. So this is all for the mandatory tasks for our shell permissions. So, but you remembered we've not executed, we only executed our first file, we've not executed the rest, we've not pushed any of our codes to GitHub, and we've not checked them to know if we have any errors. So, executing all these files using the chmod command would be really tiring. To execute all these files independently. So let's say I want to execute one, who am I? And then I press enter. I can see one, who am I now, has been executed and the color has changed, but here it's white. So to do this thing, to execute this file like this, for all of them, step by step, could be quite tiring. So all I can do is just to do it at once. So how do I execute the files at once? It's actually very easy. So after hitting chmod u+x, I'm just going to do 2 tab 3. I'm pressing tab on my keyboard and it will auto complete it. As long as there's a group that its name starts with 4, once you press tab, it will auto complete it. You can see I have 5, it will auto complete. 6, press tab, it will auto complete. 7, press tab. 8, press tab. 9, press tab. 10, tab. We have 11, tab. We have the file 12, press tab. We have the file 13, tab begin. But if you press the file 14 for tab, you can see nothing appears here because we have no file with its name starting from 14. So all the files I've currently pressed tabs on are files that already exist in our directory. If I hit enter, what will happen? Nothing happened. But when I press ls, you can see every file is now executable except our readme, which does not need to be executable. So you could see their colors here, white, or you could see all of them are actually green now. So they are all executable files. Without running this command to execute your files, your code will return an error when you check it. So I've created all the files, I've written all the answers in them. There may be little mistakes like typographical error and the rest. So you could just easily do cat and any of the file, press enter, you would see what you wrote. So you would see what you wrote for each of the files without going back to VI. So you could see it if any of them have typos or the rest. So after confirming that everything is okay, the next thing you want to do is to push your code. Remember, we never left this shell permissions directory, still in your Alx system engineering DevOps folder. So we'll simply do git add, then we'll do git commit -m. Please put the relevant message here, but for me, I'm just doing a dummy message, hello. Press enter and everything has been added. So the last step is to do git push. As you can see, I use a double H for mine. I'm going to press enter and it's not going to work. You can see, so it's returned an error. So when you get these little errors, just make sure to read it. You can see it gave us the correction, git push. So by the time I press enter on this command, it's going to push everything we've done here to GitHub. And once it pushes everything we've done here to GitHub, all we can simply do once our push is complete is to go and check our code. Everything should work fine, and we should be done with all our compulsory tasks in shell permissions simply using this guide. For better understanding, more details, you can always do your own research. Check out the resources provided. You could also check out some more external documentations. You could use Google or YouTube, the platform which this video is available in, to actually conduct more detailed and extensive research. If you also notice any major error from this video, please do well to reach out. Let me know. If you have comments, questions, anything not too clear, or everything worked perfectly, also do well to reach out. For the advanced tasks, when next we have our peer learning day section, would cover that. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you so much if you've stayed up to this point. I hope everything works for you and you did learn a few things or two from this video. It's a pleasure doing this with you once again. And until next time, it's a goodbye from me.